Hello again, you beautiful designers, and welcome to another 30 Logos design challenge. Today we're going to be talking about the wildlife logo that you see here, and we're just going to be recreating it step by step and showing you exactly how it's done. All right, let's hop right in. So this is the logo that we're going to try to recreate. This is the wildlife logo that I came up with. And as you can see, the icon is a giraffe head using some negative space. And the reason I did that is because the client wanted to have sort of a look like the WWF logo, the World Wildlife Foundation. And their icon is a panda that uses some transparency and little detail. So I wanted to have that as being, have it look like that. All right, so let's see what we can do here. So this is the font that I'm using, and it's All Display. And the first thing we're going to want to do, well, before I get into that, what you want to do first is have, a blank artboard. And then I suggest having a color palette next to that. And that's just for ease of use when you're trying to color your icons or your text or your background, just so you don't have to go find colors or use hex codes. It's just right there whenever you need it. So the first thing we're going to do with the font is change it from being text or type and turn it into shapes. So to do that, you go into Object up at the top ribbon and go down to Expand, and we keep Object and Fill checked, and then hit OK. And what that does, like I said, is it takes it from being text, editable text, and changes it into shapes. So now each letter is a shape. And right now they're all shapes, but if you move it, it's still one big object. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold Control, Shift, and G, and that's going to ungroup everything. So now every letter is independent, and we can move it around however we will, so we can make this nice text here. So the next thing I want to do is, it looks like I made this L a little bigger. So we'll go into our direct selection tool, so you can hit A to get into that, or just click on it on the left ribbon or the left toolbox. And then I'm going to select the top points here, and then I'm just going to pull it on up to be flush with the W. And then I'm going to move this D and get that out of the way for a second, because what I want to do is also make the foot of the L longer, because the idea is that this L in wild is also going to play the role of the L in life. So we'll take the D, we'll move it back down, and then we'll move IFE to the left. Give that a little more room. Maybe make this D just a tad smaller. Just to give it some more space. There we go, that looks better. So now we've got that set up. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pen tool on the left toolbox over here, and I'm going to pick a point. So as you see with the pen tool, when you go over points on a shape, it'll highlight them for you. So I'm going to pick the top anchor here, and I'm going to pull it over to the top anchor of the L, click, and then I'm going to make a shape that's about the same width as the rest of the letter for consistency. And then I just finish up this box, and then I'll go back into my direct selection tool. So now we've got this connection between the WL, and it just gives it a little bit more life as text. And now I'm noticing that in between the W and the I, there's a lot of space right here, because the W has a slant to it. It's not straight up and down like the L. So it's creating some weird spacing issues for your eyes. So to fix this, what I'm going to do is create a little, some little feet to it, or just a little doohickeys on the end, if you will. And to do that, I grab the pen tool. Well, first I want to grab the direct selection tool, and I'm going to make these corners just a little bit softer. So to do that, with the direct selection tool, click anywhere on the object itself, And where there's corners, these little white buttons will show up, and you just pull on those, pull those in, and it'll make the corners come in. So I'll go back to the pen tool, and I'm going to get out of there. And I'm just going to make a little triangle here. Oh, that was the wrong way. There we go. And what this triangle is doing is making some little tails. And I'm going to put one at the bottom too. So what I'll do is I'll hit Control C and Control F to paste the same shape right on top of there. And I'm just going to move it around. And I'm going to line it up on the bottom as well. So now we've got just an interesting looking eye. And it looks like there's still some extra space. So I'm going to touch the eye over just a little bit to the left to create more even space. And that looks better already. So you've got more even space between the W and the L with that nice illusion from the eye. And for consistency, I'll get rid of this eye and I'll move it on over. So what I'll do is I'll hold Alt and I'll drag this eye over, also while holding Shift so it doesn't move up or down. And then I'll release. And now I have the eye there as well. So in just a few steps, we already have our logo type finished. So then we'll select it all, click the eyedropper tool, so eye on the keyboard or in the toolbox there. And then I'm going to do this nice yellow color, goldenrod. And then I'm just going to push this logo type to the side so that we can focus on the giraffe head. So let's take a look at that really quickly. I advise that you would use a stencil of some sort or a sketch or some type of reference picture for you to do the head with. But I've done this a few times already, so I'm just going to freehand this as best as I can. It probably won't look the same, but we'll see what we get with it. So what I'm doing is I'm going to make half of the head and then I'll just duplicate it. And that way I know both sides are the exact same. And then and if you click the anchor here, it'll cut it off from being a curved anchor and it'll go back to being straight. And it looks like I'm gonna go off the board, the artboard here, but that's all right. So there's another point, and then I'll finish up with the nose here. All right, so now we have half of the head. And what I'll do is I'll hit Control C, Control F again to make another copy on top. And then I'll hit the reflect button and pull this over until we get it to snap together. And if you see those magenta lines there, those are our smart tools. And that just helps immensely when you're working within Illustrator because it lines everything up for you. And to use those, you go into View and just make sure Smart Guides are on. Okay, so it looks like the nose area is a little thin. So I'll delete this and I'll just make a couple fixes. So what I'll do is I'll grab this anchor in this path and this anchor, and I'll just kick it out just a little bit. And then I'll make this nose a little better here. There we go. All right, so now we will again copy, put it in front, flip it, move it over till it snaps. There we go. That looks a little better. And so what I'll do next is open up the Pathfinder tool, and then there's this under shape modes in the very first column or very first row is unite, and that makes those two shapes into one shape. And if you notice, some of these points are pretty harsh, so I think I'm going to want to fix that. So go back into your direct selection tool and click on those anchors, and if you see those two dots that popped up, again, we know that's for the corners, so that's going to help us round these corners off. Just make them a little softer, a little easier on the eyes. And I'll do these as well for the eye sockets. There we go, that looks better already. And then down here as well. Boom. I think I want to pull this nose down a little bit. There we go. Good. Perfect. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to make this smaller just so I could keep it on the artboard. But I think that looks pretty good. And I know it looks different because, as you see, I went with some different horns up there, or whatever you call them on giraffes. But otherwise, it pretty much looks the same. So then next, I'm going to color this with the eyedropper tool. I'm going to use this, I think I'll use this dark bluish color. And I'm going to pull our logo type down next to it. And I know in the original I have the giraffe head as a similar size to the logo type, but giraffes are a very commanding presence. They're big, so I think I'm going to leave it bigger than the type itself. I think that'll do, maybe just a little smaller. There we go. That looks good. So then now I'll group both of these shapes together, and where we're going to want to put them in the middle. Let me size these up first a little bit, get it a little bigger. And then go into the align tool here, and you should have it aligned to artboard so that we can align it horizontally to the center, which it already is, it looks like. And then we're going to want to vertically align it to the center as well. So now that our object is perfectly in the center, we can just add a background. And white doesn't look good to me for this. I wanted to have it more, feel like the Sahara, or just more of a desert feel. So what I'm going to do is I'll grab the rectangle tool. And if your artboard is a square like mine, this will be super easy. You just click on a corner and while holding shift, pull down to the opposite corner, and it'll make a nice perfect square for you. We'll grab the eyedropper tool again and make it that nice sandy color. And now you're saying to yourself, well, look, it's on top of everything. What am I going to do? All right, so grab the shape, and what you'll do is hold Shift, Control, and the open bracket button, and it just throws it right to the back of all the shapes. So there we go. That's our logo.